Hi, this is Dr. Erukedu of the Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology, School of Medical Sciences, University of Cape Coast, Ghana. I present to you hair and associated structures as a sequel to an earlier lecture on the skin. This is beautiful. The pictures are so awesome. And in fact, growing up as a child, I used to admire ladies who braid their hairs in this African pattern. So beautiful. So hair plays a very important role in our lives. Okay, it can be cosmetic, it can be protection, and then it can even be for keeping one warm. And when we look at animals, a lot of them may have fur or hair, and some of these can be used as even clothing to keep men warm, okay, like the wool, etc. So hairs are very important. When we look at the hair and its associated structures, we want to look at this whole hair follicle and its base, as well as other structures that play a role together with that of the hair. So they are associated with the hair, some of them being sebaceous glands, arrector pili muscles, and even some sweat glands that open into the hair follicle, okay, as we will see. So we have sebaceous gland there, that's a bulge region, outer root of the hair follicle, then you have inner root sheath, then the hair fiber, and then that is the papilla, dermal papilla, where you have this dermal papilla portion being shown, which is actually within the subcutaneous region of the skin. So that is the dermis and that is the epidermis. So histologically, the micrographs that you see for the skin showing hair follicles will look like this. So that is the hair follicle there. That is the base where the dermal papilla was shown earlier on. This is not giving you the parts of the hair follicle, like the external root sheath, the internal one, the cuticle, and the like. But it's just a simple diagram. So this is also hair follicle, that is some sebaceous glands there, as well as that. You have the smooth muscles there, arrector pili muscle, that is the reticular layer, and obviously that will be the papillary layer. So that is stratum corneum, stratum spinosum, stratum basale with melanin, which we covered in an earlier video on the skin. Arrector pili muscle represents here as well sweat glands with their excretory duct in the secretory portions, Pacinian corpuscles, which are usually found in the reticular dermis, unlike the messiness ones up there, subcutaneous layer with adipose tissue. So a lot of adipocytes are found there, and blood vessels also here. So in this transverse or cross section of the hair follicle, you can now see internal root sheath there, external root sheath also there. Then you have connective tissue sheath, the hair bulb, and then the papilla there. So hair follicle and associated glands. We earlier on mentioned the sebaceous gland associated with the hair follicle. Then I also mentioned the type of sweat gland that opens into the hair. So this is the apocrine type of sweat gland as against the eccrine type, which just opens to the surface. The sebaceous gland has no duct. Cells and their secretory products are directly released into a hair follicle, as you can see there. Eccrine sweat gland, cord gland with a single unbranching duct that opens on the surface of the epidermis. So we are referring to that. Then apocrine sweat glands, cord gland with a single unbranching duct that opens into a hair follicle. If you have forgotten your knowledge on glandular epithelium, there is an updated video I have done recently to actually bring to bear in simple terms how glands are classified. So you can look at that. Glandular epithelium updated, that is the title. So again, this is a micrograph where we are seeing hair follicles. You can see how slender they are. So it will be very easy to identify hair follicles on a slide by yourself. So the derma papilla is there. The hair bulbs are also showing. Then the hair follicles are there as well. We have adipocytes or adipose tissue. It is so beautiful. You can see all of that with hair follicles. And then that is the derma papilla having the bulb of the hair. They're very, very beautiful. And obviously that is the stratum corneum with keratin, so part of the epidermis. So we have what we call the pilosebaceous apparatus, which is a combination of the hair, erector pili muscle, sebaceous glands. So sebaceous gland, which is holocrine, erector pili muscle here, running all the way, contracts or relaxes to make the hair stand on end or fall on the skin. During thermoregulation, this plays an important role in trapping air or not. Sweat glands are also here. Now we want to look at the layers of the hair of the skin. So we want to look at this and then take the cross section here and then correspond them to this image. So we go by the letters A, B, C, and M, not D. I made it M because it goes with the name medulla or medulla. So A will be the most superficial layer, external root sheath. Then we go to B, which is the internal root sheath. So let's correspond that to here, the A and then B. So A is external root sheath. Then this is B, which is internal root sheath. Then when we go to C, we have the cuticle and then cortex. So cuticle is superficial to cortex. So we have the cuticle and then cortex. So we have here C, which will contain cuticle and then cortex. Then we are left with the M, which is the medulla, the middle portion. So that is what we have here. Then that is the base of the hair, which contains the derma papilla. And then you also can see the hair bulb, just like the way an onion bulb looks like, so the shape. And then the matrix of the hair bulb. So that is what you have here, matrix, then the papilla, then you have the hair bulb. Now, hair growth can be impaired, okay, or impeded, or slowed down, and basically degenerate altogether. And this is a problem for a lot of people, where it will end up in baldness or some loss of hair. So let's look at the stages of hair growth. So this is a normal hair with a good length for that matter. So you can see that the bulb with the papilla is okay. That's the inferior portion, that is the isthmus, and that is the infundibulum. So this is the anagen stage. They have the catagen stage, and you can see that a lot is going on in terms of degeneration at the base. And then you have the telogen, where almost everything is gone. So you have androgenetic alopecia, which is the male pattern alopecia, which is influenced by the amount of testosterone that is converted into 5-alpha dihydrotestosterone by 5-alpha reductase, which is the enzyme. So testosterone contributes to loss of hair. So this binds to intracellular receptors, thereby disrupting hair growth cycle. In the eccrine sweat gland, when you take a transverse section, this is what you find. Obviously, these will be the secretory cells, and then you have the duct, and then muscles, smooth muscle cells, myoepithelial cells, which will contract to cause the product to be released through the duct onto the surface. So that is the secretory portion. So eccrine versus apocrine. Remember, the apocrine is released into the hair follicle, and the eccrine goes through its own duct. So what we saw here is the eccrine with its duct. So this is also eccrine with some ducts as well, and then secretory portions as well. Then these are apocrine sweat glands. For mammary gland, we want to look at the breast and see how important this interesting feature or structure of the human body mean to us. So that will be the deep layers of the breast with the skin removed. So the breast is actually a modified sweat gland, just like the sweat gland we saw earlier on. This is just a modified sweat gland. It has latiferous duct, latiferous sinus, and then you can see the areola, the usually dark region in the African breast. And then the nipple, also the mammary lobes, which will contain the secretory cells. So if you look at it on the lateral view, this is what, or side view, this is what you see. So fat, you have the lobes, then the duct, which will connect the secretory units towards the surface, the nipple, then that's the areola. So again, at the front view or anterior view, this is what you find lobes there, all connected by ducts towards the nipple. Again, this is a side view with the chest muscles, the pectoralis muscles are there. That's the rib with the intercostal muscles as well. Then you have the nipple there, milk duct, the fat, and then lobes. Then, unfortunately, this interesting structure can also develop some tumors that become problematic. All right, and the earlier it is removed, the better for the person. So sometimes too, you may have excessive breast or nipples. During the development of the mammary gland, there is this line, which is a potential line that can develop into breast or nipples, that is known as the mammary line. Okay, so all these black dots, positions of accessory nipples, are actually potential sites for developing into breast. So we call this the mammary line, which starts all the way from the axillary region to the groin. And then you have them having the propensity or capacity to develop into breast along the whole line. So when you look at other animals like dogs, you see that they have a lot of breast lined up. Okay, so for humans, we don't need that many breasts, so most of them will degenerate. Occasionally, you have some accessory nipples still, remaining. So you have polythelia, which is excessive nipples, polymasia, excessive breast. So during the development, you have the epidermis invaginating into the underlying mesenchymal tissue, and then invaginates further and form ducts and then a pit, which will later on form the nipples and then breast. So within the breast like that's the side view. You have the manufacturing center, which is actually made up of the secretory units or cells. And then they are connected by ducts all the way towards the nipple. So you have the openings of the lactiferous duct, that will be a lactiferous sinus where milk will collect. Then the slender ones are the lactiferous duct. Tubulo-alveolar secretory unit, that is a lobe, obviously fat will be there. And then you have the interlobular duct and the intralobular duct. So the interlobular duct would further branch into intralobular duct into the lobes. So here you have within the lobes the acinar cells, which will secrete the milk, and then it will be transported into the ducts and then all the way to the intralobular, interlobular, lactiferous duct, lactiferous sinus, and out it goes. So you have connective tissue septi also permeating the substance and dividing them into lobules. There are changes in the mammary gland, either the gravid or non-gravid, so whether pregnant or non-pregnant. So non-pregnant, that is an inactive duct system. So it's just like a tree with branches with the leaves drying up and falling, no fruit. So inactive, no alveoli, and undifferentiated terminal ducts. During pregnancy, you can see that you now have the emergence of some black spherical portions at the ends of the ducts. So alveoli proliferate at the ends of the duct. So during pregnancy, proliferation and differentiation of alveoli. And then during lactating, that is when breastfeeding is ongoing, milk secretion and accumulation in the alveolar lumen. So this is active lactating, secretion of milk and accumulation in the alveolar lumen. So in a micrograph, you find something like this, showing the lactiferous duct with the lumen, which is not stained. So a similar thing is shown here. You might confuse this with the hair follicle, but note that this one is not containing adductor pili muscles here, and then you are also not seeing sebaceous glands attached to what looks like the hair follicles. Okay. So the lactiferous duct is lined by a superficial or apical layer of cuboidal epithelial cells here, and then a basal layer of myoepithelial cells. Then you have the myoepithelial cells there, which obviously contain smooth muscles there. So that is basically how the lactiferous ducts look like. So in an active and inactive mammary gland, like we saw earlier on, a micrograph will show this also. Inactive gland lobules are arranged sparsely, and each lobule consists of mainly bluntly ending duct with no secretory alveoli. So when you compare this to that, you can now see that a lot of secretory alveoli are very prominent here. Then again, a similar one at a higher power is here, and then also a higher power. So in an active mammary gland, this is what you see. Lobules are well developed and pack the gland. In each lobule, secretory alveoli have formed, and their lumen are highly dilated, as you can see, very, very dilated. Right, so you have the interlobular connective tissue, which will contain interlobular duct, and then you have the intralobular connective tissue, which will contain intralobular duct. Thank you very much. I hope this video helps.